What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Shut Up.
Keep going.
I'm Sydnee Goodman,
I'm Kate Franklin.
and this is a podcast where we explore our internet
Internet
curiosities.
curiosities.
Da, 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 da. Yeah, sick. So I'm presenting today, and we don't have to jump straight into the topic, but I will say I'm doing it on an influencer. I think it's
Oh.
our first influencer topic. But he's very fascinating.
Oh, I think I know who it is and I can't wait.
Do you actually know? Or you think I
I
feel like you think I'm doing Jeremy Fragrance, who I'm not.
Oh, it's not Jeremy
It's not
Fragrance.
It's
Okay.
Jeremy Fragrance adjacent. Like I feel like they exist in the same kind of wacky universe. It's this guy named Liver King.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yes.
I feel like we're finally at the age where we're ready to talk about influencers in a elevated way and talk about what they represent. I feel like we're finally like accepting that is a major part of
Our
modern life. Do you know what
society.
I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I think that influencer culture is very interesting, and I say that as somebody who makes a living as an influencer. Like that's part of my living. It's weird to
Yeah.
identify and say, and actually that's something that I've talked a lot with my therapist about is like I told her like I really don't like the word influencer and like it makes me really uncomfortable and like I have some shame around if people are like, "Hey, what do you do for a living?" Like I will literally say any other word than influencer, content creator, host producer. Like granted host producer is much different than influencer, but um something about the word, but it is at its core they influence people.
It's true. I've been influenced.
But I think I will be really curious, and I mean this is more conversation that we can have kind of at the end because that's kind of where I was hoping that this research would lead us is
Hmm.
just like right now I think it's like, oh, traditional celebrities and digital celebrities, and that there is like still a very clear distinction between the two. But I feel like we're coming up um on something, if we haven't already, where it's just like the nature of the celebrity is being redefined, especially since like the
Hmm.
younger generation like just doesn't watch traditional media really. There's
Yeah.
certain things that transcend that, but I'd say as a whole, like kids are watching YouTube, not TV. It's
Yeah.
interesting.
It's true.
But okay, well, we'll just get into it. Oh my gosh, everybody. We are not even 3 minutes into the episode and we're already talking about the topic.
Can we just get a round of applause? I mean, look at us. Look at how
Wow.
far we've
That
grown.
extra Adderall worked.
We're constantly progressing, learning from our
Growing,
mistakes.
all of it. All of
That's
that.
not to say that we might get off topic halfway through and never find our way back, but
Who can say?
hey,
Who can say?
um,
All right, baby. Well, we're talking about Liver King. I saw some people in the chat who are watching us live record this on Twitch, twitch.tv/SidSoGood. We record these live most Mondays, 9:15 a.m. Pacific time. Yeah, so if you want to watch it live, that's where we do it. But I see people in chat being honestly, people like Liver King. The people who were talking about it said, I love Liver King. So I just learned about Liver King this week, actually.
oh,
And he is an influencer. He's a bodybuilding, like fit talk, like fitness influencer. He has 1.2 million followers on Instagram, 1.8 million on TikTok. And it's interesting because he like has amassed those followings in less than a year. I remember reading it, but I didn't write it down. But it's like, I think he's only been on Instagram for like 5 months,
oh my God.
which is so interesting. One second. I saw something in chat and I'm gonna write it down because I want to address it at the end. Because I think it's interesting perspective. And it's taking everything in me not to yell. Yeah, but people's media literacy is so bad. Anyways, so Liver King, he is an influencer. According to his Instagram, he's a public figure. He is the CEO of the Ancestral Lifestyle.
Right.
Wow, fancy guy. So he's an evolutionary. This is from his kind of these quotes, and if it seems like it's not in my words, it's because I either took it from his Instagram or TikTok bio or his About Me from his website. It says, Liver King is an evolutionary hunter, a serial entrepreneur by nature with a singular focus to honor our ancestors. He's married to the Liver Queen, and he has 2 savage liver boys, aka sons.
Okay.
I can
Already
tell
not
you're
loving where
strapping
this
in.
is going.
So I did a bunch of research, and I literally have never seen a picture of this man with a shirt on. He's always shirtless, which is just kind of interesting, I guess. Like on his website, I was on his website. Here, I'll pull his website up.
I'm really tempted to look him up, but I feel like I don't want to.
No, here, I'll show you. So
Okay.
there's Liver King. He is just like
Oh.
really jacked. He's this like super
Oh.
shredded dude who's just doing his thing and sharing it with the world. I am gonna
Okay.
change it just because I feel very weird. I don't know why, but like I don't like looking at him. He's like too muscular, I guess. I don't know. It like makes me kind of uncomfortable. But
I have a weird thing. I don't like really overly muscular people make me like I don't want to look at it. It's like really I know that's kind of the opposite of what most people think probably. I just
no,
like I'm like no
I
thank
relate to
you.
that. Honestly, it's interesting. It's like I think that goes back to like the female male gaze sort of a thing, and that like a lot of what's portrayed in Hollywood as like the what women want are actually just like what men think women want. And it's that whole conversation about like the Ryan Reynolds effect. Have you heard this discourse?
No.
So it's this idea that men love Ryan Reynolds and they think he's like so hot and that he's what every woman wants. And so if you asked a man like, who would you like want to be, let's just say, because like you're just gonna get all the ladies, they all say Ryan Reynolds. They love Ryan Reynolds. But I have never talked to a woman, never, literally never, who Ryan Reynolds is their first choice in Hollywood.
No.
Like
Are you
although like
kidding?
I can respect that like he's like I guess a good like a conventionally attractive dude, but like I don't know any woman who's like off the bat like he's my type, like this is the guy. Like I just don't. It's a
Yeah.
misunderstanding of like what women want.
I really dislike Ryan Reynolds, but I think so I'm not really a
Interesting.
fair
Why do you
I'm not
like
a
why do you not
fair
like him?
I really detest the man.
Wait,
I don't
why
know.
though?
Something about him like drives me insane. I just think he's like, well, okay, I hate watched Red Notice, um, which Sid, it's an excellent
Alex
hate
watched
watch
it
for me.
and I think I caught like the back half because he was watching it and I like came home and was like, what is this? And finished it with him. So you're telling me that if I watched the full movie, it wasn't bad just because I only watched half of it?
No, it's like I well, it's one of those movies where like it might be knowingly like that. Like I couldn't tell if they like made it to be like a funny romp or if it's supposed to be taken seriously, which my advice is like choose a lane a little bit because then I'll know how to like engage with what I'm seeing. But it kind of I thought at the beginning it's supposed to be taken seriously and Ryan Reynolds is a freaking psychopath in it. I like hate how he's acting. He's like so he's trying to be I think it's the Deadpool thing of like he's trying to be so funny, which maybe he is in other stuff, but in this he was so annoying. He reminded me of like the annoying like Orange County finance guy who like did theater in high school and I like really wanted to beat him up. Like I really just something really strikes a bad in me and I don't trust the man.
Yeah, he does kind of strike me as like the guy at your high school who was like I don't like he was part of the popular group and he just thought he could like get away with anything because he was like good looking and he like wasn't actually that funny, but he always just like cracked jokes, if that makes sense.
Yeah, like it's like honestly kind of mean-spirited, but like because he's like semi-attractive but also kind of nerdy at the same time, you can't like really
There's like an endearing
place him in one
quality.
camp. Yeah, and so then I feel like he gets to get away with a lot of stuff that most other
So I sense that. I get it. But it's funny because I have like a really soft spot in my heart for Ryan Reynolds because Just Friends is one of my favorite movies, which is a Ryan Reynolds movie before he became like Ryan Reynolds, if that makes sense. Like it was kind of, he had been in other stuff for sure, but I feel like it was like you kind of only knew about Ryan Reynolds if you knew about Ryan Reynolds. It wasn't like he was like an A-list big guy, big star. Like I want to say that movie even ccame out before him and Alanis Morissette like broke up. And so I feel like I really liked him in that movie, but I almost feel like Deadpool kind of, I don't want to say broke him for me, but it's like he got so deeply pigeonholed after that, even though he kind of was a little one note before that anyways, but then he really started getting typecast or typecasting himself or whatever, and just like really was like, okay, this works, people love it, I'm making tons of money, I'm getting like a lot of street cred, like I'm just gonna do this, and I find it annoying now.
Yeah. There's a sign on Sunset, like in deep Hollywood, that just says I hate Ryan Reynolds. And I was gonna take a picture of it because I was like, same. But then I saw that it was sponsored by Netflix and it's like for some, they're like advertising something, and I was like, damn it.
That sign, yeah, I drove past that today. Sometimes it has good stuff.
Is that what it says?
They change it all the time. Like it had something different today. Okay. But yeah, he just kind of is always Deadpool now. But we're on a tangent about Ryan Reynolds. No, don't say sorry. I think he's interesting though, and the reason why I brought him up was because I think that similar to Liver King, I think that there's this ideology of like what people think, like, oh, because we were talking about how we both kind of don't like looking at overly muscular shirtless men, and I agree. I don't find it attractive at all.
I know.
Like it's just not my type. I'm sure there's women that do, and you know, that I'm sure there is, but it's not really. I'm just kind of like, why is there so much muscle?
Yeah, it's like, what happened? Are you okay?
Right? Maybe it's similar to, you know how, I don't know if you've seen this research, but especially like us growing up, since we grew up when like the like heroin chic, like everyone was so skinny. Everyone being like a lot of the famous women, it was just like our current definition of skinny was like considered fat when we were growing up, which is just so warped and not true at all. Yeah. And they did research that like they basically had men, and you know, we'll set aside the whole like women being attractive for men and you know society's standards of attractiveness. Let's just like set that aside for a second while I talk about this, because I'm not going to comment on that because it will convolute understanding the study. But they basically had men like circle body parts or like create the like a perfect woman based on like their preferences, and they found that the woman that they would create was consistently about 20% heavier than women's like ideal body, which is just really interesting, right? And so I think it's interesting because it kind of goes on both ends. I think men think that women want this super muscular man, and women think that to be attractive to men, you have to be like super, super skinny, when that's like not the case necessarily.
Yeah.
So
be nice to yourself, people.
Yeah, be nice to yourself.
There's someone out there for you.
Yeah. But not the Liver King, because he's married to his liver queen. He is spoken for.
And his liver savages.
His savage liver boys.
That's so fun.
Okay, so this man is like the most hardcore man I've literally ever seen. Like he is a walking meme. And I think that's like why he rose to internet fame so quickly, is because he really is like a walking meme. To start things off, we have this video from his TikTok of one of his workouts, where he's just like pressing like a huge tree branch, and the caption reads, "You think you have to go to the gym to get a shoulder pump on? Come on, primals." Oh, primals are his like fans. Come on, primals. Our early ancestors didn't attract a mate by looking in the mirror. They did something that made them feel badass, like a winner. What you need is a tree trunk. And then he threw it down. So yeah, he's just like really hardcore. And okay, his mission is to, quote, this is from his ebook, which I did download and skim. His mission.
Did you pay for it?
No, it's free. You just have to give him an email. So his mission is to, quote, revive and render mainstream the same primal patterns that progress the sole surviving species of genus Homo. So like the mission statement of kind of everything he does is this idea that as a society, based on like human comforts and the evolution of technology and, you know, how society has tainted like our food sources, et cetera, which I think what I find so fascinating about this guy is that it's like he is the embodiment to me of like things aren't black and white. Like I don't really love his internet persona. It's, in terms of I'm just like, what is this? This is the broiest thing I've ever seen. But like if you really break down his pillars, I was very surprised because I was like, oh, this actually really aligns with like how I live my life. Which I thought was very fascinating. He just takes it to this really big extreme. But so the basis of everything is that like we've gotten soft. And again, there's that like bro-y language. We've gotten soft because like we sleep on real beds and we have like shelter and, you know, we have paved roads and just like society has evolved in a way that like we like are I didn't hear him say this, but I'm just going to assume he said this before. So I'm putting words in his mouth, but that we're all, quote, little pussies. Like, I feel like that's just like how he thinks. Like, he's like, our ancestors would kick our ass. Like that kind of an attitude. Which it's tough. Again,
Probably.
It's like,
I don't know.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like not black and white because part of it, I'm like, yeah, you're like probably right, dude. Like a caveman would like beat the shit out of me. Like they had to like hunt for a living. I go to the grocery store. But it is interesting because somebody in chat just said like with these cultural advances, we do enjoy life and live longer than we used to when we used to die in our like living to be age 30 was like a big feat in the medieval days, right? And so these comforts and having more access to these nutritious foods, et cetera, is actually expanding our lifespan as well as like modern medicine, which I think is a very fascinating rebuttal.
Yeah, I mean, I should I give a hot take now or
give the hot take?
Well, because I was just thinking like I think it's interesting. I don't necessarily think it's wrong in some ways, but I feel like it's kind of not taking into consideration like what makes humans different than animals, which is like we've like evolved to like enjoy like our consciousness and like our emotional life. And so it's like if you're only really focusing on like the fact that yes, we were animals once and like we fought to survive, then like sure, but like that's kind of not taking into consideration like the other parts of the human experience.
Yeah.
And maybe that's just me because I literally would die so fast if it was caveman days because I just love reading in my head, which would get me killed. So
no, you could be in like the hieroglyphic station, like where you like do the cave.
Oh yeah,
not hieroglyphics, but like doing like the cave paintings.
Oh, big time.
That could be like your vocation.
That's what I would definitely be that. But I don't know. It's the same thing with the Lindy guy. Do you remember that episode?
Lindy.
We did an episode a while ago where I covered Lindy, which is, can I just give a quick?
Yeah,
because I feel like it relates.
Yeah.
This guy who's basically like a lifestyle influencer came up with this idea of Lindy, which is basically making lifestyle choices based on how long things have been around. And I know most people are like, oh, well, like slavery was alive. It's not that. It's like, oh, like processed foods haven't been around for that long around, sorry. Or like taking walks to like wind down and think about my thoughts. Like that's a good thing that people have been doing for thousands of years. Just like things that have lasted through like human lifestyles that are actually really beneficial and things that are really recent and like fads to like basically be hesitant about that, which the more I think about it, when I first read it, I was like, this guy's annoying, but now I'm like, Lindy rocks.
Well, okay.
Like, I think it's a really good concept.
Yeah, and it's interesting because again, kind of like confronting your own judgments and beliefs about this stuff is like, I literally went into this episode being like, I'm going to talk about Liver King. It's going to be so ridiculous. And like, we're going to laugh and it's going to be really funny. And then as I dove into his philosophies, I was like, oh shit, this is actually literally like, I am a primal. Like this like is like adding up. Yeah. So we'll dive in a little bit. You're probably like, Sid, why don't you tell us about his philosophies instead of just vaguely talking about how those philosophies affected you? But so everything goes back to that mission statement. He wants to kind of get back into ancestral living, is his thing, and encourage other people to do so. So he refers to himself as Liver King, and it was funny because in his ebook it writes like, he says, I'm Liver King, and then when he talks about himself he says the former Brian Johnson, which is like his actual name. And again, he thinks modern life has made us soft. So a quote from his ebook, Liver King will teach you how to build a layer of skin so impenetrable, so hard wearing, it mimics the raw hands and feet of a true prehistoric warrior. Okay. He lives by 9 ancestral tenets, and this you can all find on his website or in the ebook, which are kind of the tenets that if you want to be a primal, this is how you do so. So the first one is sleep. Quote, we can go many months without food, only a few weeks without water, but only a few days without sleep before we die, which is true. And so he encourages to get early morning sun exposure at the same time every day to regulate sleep and wake cycles, finish your last meal 3 to 4 hours before bed, and to wear blue light blocking glasses after sunset. So like this was kind of the moment where when I was reading this, I was like, wait, this guy has a point. Like, what? I wasn't expecting this. The second pillar is eat. And it says no processed foods, seed oils, or liquid calories. Incorporate whole foods, liver, bone marrow, heart, and bone soups into your primal fare to express the best version of you. We are descendants of genus Homo, the baddest mammalian predators ever lived. Okay. And so he encourages people to eat whole animals, nose to tail, horn to hooves, which this is another one. I mean, I don't eat animal anymore, but I think it's sustainable. It's important. I think that that's good that if you are going to like first hunt, you hunt to eat. And if you're going to eat animal, you shouldn't, like, you don't want to be wasting parts of it. I think that's very good to encourage people to eat the whole thing and not be grossed out about like animal organs, for example. So also I've like looked at chat, which is really funny, and someone said, did he just say wear a blue light blocking glasses at night? That doesn't sound very primal. It's definitely not Lindy wouldn't approve. Let's put it that way. So the next tenet is move, and he encourages to walk 30 minutes first thing in the morning, do an early afternoon walk for 30 minutes, and an after dinner walk for 30, quote, rain, snow, or shine. What I found really interesting is this whole thing like just feels like really good marketing, I guess, because I don't know, for some reason I feel like walks feel feminine to me. If we had to assign something to it, I feel like most people I know that go for walks, it's women. And I don't actually think that, guys. Like, go for walks. Walks are so good for your mental health and they're great. But that it's like he couldn't just instruct like, hey, you should take like a 30-minute walk in the morning, 30-minute walk in the afternoon, and 30-minute walk after dinner. He had to include like this intensity of like, rain, snow, or shine, we're walking, boys. Our testicles are going to be swinging back and forth as we like caress the earth with our feet. And it's just like, oh my gosh, like, was that
like, no, just go on a stroll and like listen to some nice music and like call your mom, maybe. Like, it's fine.
Like, it's not that, it's like not like, that interesting. Okay, so move was, what did we say, the third tenet?
Wait, I love the idea. Sorry, someone just said bunch of bros power walking, which makes me laugh so hard. Of like,
yeah, like they just look really unhappy and like they're like really intentional with their arm movements.
Yeah, it's so funny.
And it's also, I think, like, that gets into, which we don't have to get into, but like this like myth of toxic masculinity, that it's like, if I'm gonna walk like a man. It's like, but can't we just walk?
Everyone has to walk, okay? It's like
okay, so the next tenet is shield. Avoid dangers like our early ancestors. Quote, instead of running from lions, nowadays we run from seed oils, excessive Wi-Fi, EMFs, and man-made poisons. So I'm assuming that man-made poisons is like alcohol, and EMFs meaning electromagnetic fields, which is like what our technology radiates. So he wants you to turn off Wi-Fi at night, no perfume, and also says, which this was the first inkling that I got from this, that I was like, wait, this is actually really balanced thinking, where he said, name of the game is progress, not perfection. Which
Okay, yeah.
is like
no,
so
that's
balanced
good.
and it's so true. But I'm like, I'm so confused. This feels like it was written by two people. Like,
Well,
it
because
just,
my thing is that thing that I keep being like, wait, what? Is like he's saying this like I don't know, like primal way of living, but it's also like he's an internet influencer. Like you're the most modern person of all time.
yeah, yeah. Well, and actually, it was so fascinating because when I was reading, there's quite a few articles on him actually, and that his online presence wasn't just him being like, I'm really passionate about this, I'm gonna post online. Like, he actually worked with a consulting agency to figure out the best way to, like, going back to the kind of that serial entrepreneur moniker that he had in his bio, or has in his bio. He worked with an agency to figure out the best way to put himself out online. Like, he was very
Oh
intentional about it,
wow.
and he sounds like a really smart guy.
Are you gonna get into his background?
No, that's kind of the most that I found. I did see, mostly because like there was some articles and maybe he changed his like website around since it came out, but they said that the reason why that led him to this lifestyle, but they quoted that they found this on his website and I couldn't find it on his website. So there's that caveat. However, I did see multiple articles give this information, that him and his wife got really into this because one of his sons developed, one of his savage liver boys developed like severe allergies. And so like modern medicine and Western medicine kind of was, they were at the point that it wasn't helping them anymore and they didn't know what to do, and it seemed like the allergies were maybe food related. And so they cut out like all processed food and kind of just like walked things back, and his allergies like got a lot better, and like his illness and stuff he was dealing with got a lot better. And so I would imagine that this came as a result of just like, oh, they walked it back on like processed foods, and then he just like kept walking it back.
Mm-hmm.
um but he owns like four companies.
Good for him.
Yeah, and one of them is a supplement company
Okay.
that like kind of goes hand in hand with this. And I mean, we can talk about it now. I didn't it actually was surprisingly difficult to find where his companies were. Like, I didn't see on his website, it wasn't like buy my supplements now or like buy this or buy that and links out to like all the other websites. I had to like Google like Liver King supplement company, and that would come up. I think it's called like Ancestral Supplements or something,
Why are supplements the most sus thing to me?
because they're not regulated.
Because I'm just like, anytime I hear something like, oh, okay, and then like I hear that they sell supplements, I'm like, I don't know. Just because
Yeah,
it's,
go ahead. Just because it's
I don't know. I don't really want to get into it, but
okay.
I
Well,
might
no,
step on.
supplements aren't regulated. I mean, I definitely take a lot of supplements, but I'm very like picky about where they come from. And you can
Yeah.
actually, so when I was like really at the peak of my illness, I was taking a ton of supplements, and I got really sus about like, wait a minute, I'm taking all these supplements, like they're probably contaminated with a bunch of shit. And you can actually go on their websites and check like the lab reports to see what like the contents are, and like what the percentage of like toxic heavy metals and whatnot are in it. So there's way to like suss it out so that it isn't so
Yeah.
quote unquote dangerous. But supplements definitely are like a game that I feel like scammy people can get into and get away with a lot, because you have to be like really, really intentional and knowledgeable in the space to kind of protect yourself.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But okay, so Shield, he wants people to get away from seed oils, excessive Wi-Fi, EMFs, and man-made poisons, which, oh my gosh, there's so much. I guess there's a lot to talk about with this, because I think that this whole thing, and it might just be because I'm like sober curious or whatever, like I definitely am not a huge drinker. And a big thing for me is because of like the what's the word? It's just like not good for your body is kind of the like TLDR. I definitely still drink, but you know, it's something that I'm aware of. But it's been interesting because I've found that it's becoming more and more common and mainstream for, you know, those brands like Kin is one that I drink a lot, or like Gia, and these like non-alcoholic aperitifs, and kind of promotion and commodification of like a sober curious lifestyle. And so I don't know, I just thought it was really interesting because it seems like his audience is very like frat boy, and which you associate with alcohol. And so I don't know, I just thought it was really interesting that he seems to stay really true to his pillars and to not really waver to or cater to his audience, because he is very much like, you shouldn't be drinking alcohol.
Yeah.
Which, yeah,
But that probably makes him successful, honestly. Is like, I feel like, I mean, this is a larger discussion, but it seems to me that like keeping a consistent and kind of hardcore brand is like the way to like kind of get above the noise. Do you know what I mean? Even
Yeah.
if it's controversial or like weird or wacky.
I feel like especially if it's controversial.
Being hyper specific and being true to that is like the only way to really stand out, which is probably why he's like famous.
Totally. Well,
Famous
and
a lot. God.
the turn off the Wi-Fi I thought was also really interesting because I see like an Ayurvedic medicine doctor now, and she is a licensed like MD, so in Western medicine, but also is fully like traditional Chinese medicine doctor. And sorry, I might have just conflated Ayurvedic medicine and traditional Chinese medicine. I'm not sure the similarities, differences, but she does promote a lot of Ayurvedic practices. Anyways, I had to do this hair test a couple weeks ago, and I got back this huge document, and part of it was that like I had excessive exposure to like Wi-Fi and like devices and electromagnetic
Wait,
stuff.
how do they read that?
It's nuts. They just like plucked a bunch of hair off of the like back of my neck and then put it in this little machine, and then like a couple days later sent me this report that was like telling me a bunch of shit about myself. It was nuts.
Is that true though, or is that like that? Is that
I believe that
guess?
stuff. No,
Okay.
I believe that stuff. I mean, it was more than that. It was like an excessive document. But part of it had that, and I haven't had my appointment yet to read it with her. And I was like, this bitch is crazy if she thinks that I'm like gonna step away from my computers. Like I don't, like I need to like work. Like it was interesting because I felt like I had so much resistance to it.
Yeah.
But anyways, okay, so we so far had sleep, eat, move, shield, connect, which is essentially grounding, which I don't think I've told you about, but I've definitely talked to my stream about, and I'm literally doing right now. And this was the moment where I was like, oh shit, like this is like this like totally aligns with my belief system. So grounding is this idea and connect where that Earth has a slightly negative charge, and so it provides a grounding force for our electrophysiology. But because we have rubber shoes, cars, houses, elevated beds, concrete, we don't come in contact with the ground as much as our ancestors did, or as much as we should. And so his advice is to take your shoes off and put your bare feet directly on earth, and to start with 10 minutes. The advice that I was given is to do 30 minutes, and you want like pure earth. You want like pure earth. So like the best case scenario is the beach or sand, because that is like there's not anything underneath it. Second best would be to like go to a park, but unfortunately, like living in LA, a lot of times parks have concrete underneath, so even if you're sitting there and it's dirt and grass, there's like a layer of concrete that is kind of preventing full grounding and full like reaching to the earth. And so the alternate, and why I said this is what I'm doing right now, is, and I'm not sponsored by this, but I have found it works so well for me. There's these things called grounding mats, which you can buy from this website called earthing.com. And it's essentially, well, I guess I'll just show you guys. I wasn't I'm like really passionate
Oh
about
my
it now because it's
God.
made such a big difference for me. But look, they're having a friends and family sale. Wow. It is expensive. I will also say that it is expensive, which makes it seem like it's a scam, but it really has been really nice and works for me. Maybe, I don't know, you can see if it works for you or not, but it's basically, I'm trying to find the one that I'm using right now. Oh, those are all their cables. Um, oh, maybe it's not on sale. Shop all products. Oh, I'm there right now. So it's these mats. We'll just say like this. It's this mat. It almost looks like a yoga mat. And this little thing, it comes with this prong thing. That you like plug into your outlet, and it tells you if the outlet's grounded or not. So if you're not able to like always get to the beach or get to the park, you it comes with this thing, and you can plug it into your outlet, and it doesn't actually like plug the electricity. Like, it only has something that goes into that kind of like third prong thing, so you're grounded, and it simulates the the slightly negative charge that Earth has. And so like my feet are on like an earthy mat right now, and then I sleep on one of the mats.
So it's about like electrical charge.
Yeah, electrical charge. And so it's basically
That's
trying
really
to like
interesting.
get back to the natural, like slightly negative electrical charge that Earth has, and give it back to your physiology. And since it's just like not realistic because of the way society's built that you're going to get that like quality. But it's kind of like, how people are like, oh, touch grass, or like get outside and like take your shoes off and like feel the sand or feel the dirt beneath your feet. And I don't know about you, but I also think I'm very like Pisces. Like, water to me feels like so grounding and like really nice, and like putting my feet in sand or putting my like being barefoot in grass, I find just like really calming. And the idea is basically that it's calming for a reason. And so go ahead.
This is just completely opposite of that, but it makes me laugh. I love the feeling of like when you're at the dentist and you are gonna get x-rays and they put the x-ray thing on you. And so
Like
that's
the
why I
jacket.
love, yeah, and so then I really got into weighted blankets, but that's like such an unnatural thing.
It's funny though, because I hate weighted blankets. I feel like I'm suffocating.
Oh my God, I love the shit out of weighted blankets.
I like
Like,
having a
it
lot of
really,
blankets. Maybe my blanket was too much weight then. Because like I like being bundled and having like multiple blankets on. But my brother had a weighted blanket that he didn't want anymore. And so I was like, oh, I'll take it. But it was like too heavy.
oh no, I want to be crushed. Like, I literally love that thing at the dentist. When they bring it out, I'm like, let's do this thing. Like,
I'll ask
they're
my
like
mom.
taking x-rays of my, yeah, could
Maybe
she
I
get
can,
me
yeah,
one?
maybe I can hook you up. I'll get you one of those vests. Can you imagine? It's your birthday present.
Yeah.
I saw somebody ask like for the scientific research behind it. To be completely honest with you, I have never looked fully into it because my doctor like recommended it to me, and I trust my doctor. There is a what's it called? Documentary that came out around it, and so you could probably look into it. But I've had multiple, so my doctor, a different doctor, my acupuncturist, recommended it to me, and I was like, okay, like that sounds like it checks out, but it just doesn't seem that important. And so I kind of like blew it off. But then when my other doctor recommended it to me, I was like, oh, this is like actually a thing. So I don't know about the science. I personally, even if it's just placebo effect, I notice a difference. So I'm like in it to win it. But definitely look up the science and see if there's studies yourself, if that's something that is important to you. But it is shown to better sleep, improve blood pressure, anti-inflammatory, protection against those pesky electromagnetic fields.
Am I right?
Am I right, or am I right? Those EMFs. So cold is the next tenet. It says, quote, comfort is not good for the organism. This is why the sixth ancestral tenet is get cold. Basically, they want it's this idea that we're built for the cold based on like our brown adipose tissue, which is, quote, metabolically active for thermoregulation. And it says, for those seeking a better life, start with cold and hot contrast showers for 30 seconds at a time. So that I didn't really understand.
Wait,
Like,
I agree with.
okay, but so tell me, if, since you agree, maybe you'll help me understand this more. But like, are they saying that when you take a shower, it should be like, it's 30 seconds cold, and then in 30 seconds you change it to hot, and then you put some shampoo in your hair, and then you like change it back to cold, and then you wait 30, like, or is
Well,
it like a cold plunge?
I don't know. I just do it like randomly because
Yeah.
it feels so good. I love doing a cold plunge. Like it's like the best feeling ever. If you have never done a cold plunge, people, I highly recommend, like, if you take a hot shower or something, like turn on the cold for like a few seconds. And even though if you're like, it feels so good after like a second of like shock. And it
Yeah.
really like, I don't know, I don't know, there's probably science behind this, but it just makes you feel like really aware of your body and like feel
Yeah.
like really present.
It's something that
Um,
I've always wanted to do, but I've been too big of a baby.
you should do it. I mean,
What?
I do it like I did it one time at a spa. Like I went to a spa and they had a
Yeah.
cold plunge and I did it one time and I was so scared and then I was like obsessed and I like was just like naked in this women only spa and like running from the jacuzzi to the cold plunge like a crazy person. Like I would not stop just because it feels so good.
Well, and that's actually interesting because I feel like as kids, I don't know about you, but I used to love doing that. It's like I'd get in the jacuzzi and then jump into the pool and like kind of do the back and forth.
Yeah. But I
Huh.
do in the shower, like every time I shower, I'll like get really hot and then at the end of the shower, I'll turn it on cold for like 30 seconds and it's kind of shocking at first and then it feels good and then you turn back the hot and then you're done.
Oh, okay. Maybe I have to shower after this, so maybe I'll try my cold,
Try it out.
try it out. So the next tenet is sun. Sun for the natural production of vitamin D. He wants you to eat bone marrow for vitamin K, midday sun for vitamin D, and liver for real vitamin A. Um, fight is let's see. Our ancestors evolved fighting, hunting, protecting, struggling, persevering, and eventually winning. This is a quote, by the way. And when we win, we get rewarded with a boost of dopamine and androgens. So he wants you to look for opportunities that scare the shit out of yourself. In this way, we can honor the legacy of our ancestors and our biology so that we can enjoy the spoils of the modern world and express the best version of ourselves. So this one was interesting because I feel like the like enjoy the spoils of the modern world kind of makes me feel like, oh, so like he's not saying everything's bad, right?
No, I mean, obviously he can't say that because he's an internet celebrity.
You're like, that's
So,
not allowed. He had to work that in there. And
yeah,
then
I mean,
go ahead.
no, keep going. I have a
Final
larger
tenet.
point.
So the final tenet is bond, is that we are bigger than ourselves, basically, and to spend focused present time with loved ones and friends, which I thought was actually very nice.
Sure, yeah. Okay. I mean, okay. I guess I stand by my initial hot take, which is like we don't need to rely on our survival instincts so much anymore. That's the beauty of evolution.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's honestly like I would almost say it's like kind of sad that like these things are just about like reminding yourself that you're alive. And it's kind of crazy that like this is a thing that we need to be reminded of. Like, hey, you should go on a walk and like spend time with people you like and like, you know, like
That it's seen as like
be
radical.
conscious. Yeah, it's just like, wow, like yeah, but it makes sense because we're so digital focused and I have days where like I literally don't look up from my computer for like 10 hours at a time. So I get it, but it's like I just feel like it's like I'm living in a simulation that it's like, yeah, you guys, we should like go in the sun. It's really good for you. You know what I mean?
Or like go for a walk. Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, okay, sure. But
Totally.
I think it just seems it's not really surprising given especially like the past few years and like what we've gone through, that like this is sticking with people.
Yeah. So those are the tenets. However, he obviously like takes those as far as, or you can take them as far as not far, as you desire. And so his actual diet is he's known for following this ancestral diet and quote caveman lifestyle, which includes extreme workouts and simulated hunting, which I'm really excited to tell you about the simulated hunting. And so it's basically this next level paleo diet of meat, raw animal organs, eggs, animal testicles. He eats a pound of raw liver and sea salt every day.
A pound of sea salt?
Well, no. I think he just puts the sea
Oh,
salt on his
I
raw
was
liver.
like,
You're like,
You
that's
can't do
bad.
that. No, you
But
can't
so
do that.
that's why he's called Liver King, is because to him, liver is king,
Sure.
because it has so much for you. He has blended protein shakes of animal organs. Again, raw. He eats a lot of raw meat. And he sleeps on wooden planks at home in his mansion, quote. So if you wanted to see, I actually got a video of kind of his wooden planks. He's just kind of talking about it right now. But so it's like
No,
he
man,
literally is sleeping
come
and he doesn't have a
on.
mattress. So they just have these like a couple blankets on top of his wood planks, and he talks about basically how it's simulating how the early ancestors would have gathered like leaves and different plants to lay on so that they weren't laying just on like the ground. But it's wild to me that like his wife is like in on this too. I guess you'd have to be, right? Like you'd kind of have to be somewhat on the same page, or at least like very supportive.
Yeah, I was literally like, oh, so yeah, but his wife's in on it. Do we know what's her deal?
No,
Is
actually,
she
I'm not.
featured?
I'm sure
She's
she is.
MIA.
Let's see, Liver
Okay.
Queen. I'm sure she is.
Yeah, I feel like you're
We're opening Liver Queen, Liver King. Brian Johnson, I think is his name.
Oh my God, look at those pictures. I don't know.
The like, very, what's it called, low res is funny to me. Yeah, I actually don't think his wife is super.
She's like, keep me out of this.
Yeah, I
She's
don't
like,
think her
I
like
actually
face
have
is
my own
around.
bedroom. I don't sleep on that shit.
Yeah. But yeah, so they sleep on that. I actually think this might be like a grounding mat. I'm not totally sure though, which I think is funny. Okay, and then this is like one of his workouts where it says walks of chains. He has 120 pounds of chains on
I
his
didn't have chains
neck.
in the primal days, dude.
And it's literally just a video of him like walking around with the chains on him.
He doesn't like, it must be so uncomfortable to have that many muscles. That's the thing about like super buff people, is like they constantly look so
They do look pretty
uncomfortable.
uncomfortable. They do look pretty
Even though
uncomfortable.
this is really controversial, I'm not saying my opinions about The Rock, but if you look at him in interviews, I watched some post Red Notice interviews. He looks so
He
uncomfortable. Like his
does.
clothes are so tight, and he's just like he can't
And kind of
like
how he has to
close his legs.
like sit and I guess just like
Yeah.
orient himself. Yeah, no, I agree. He doesn't look very comfy. But yeah, so this guy, Brian Johnson, aka Liver King, he's the CEO and owner of 4 businesses, like I mentioned earlier, and they sell supplements, protein powders, and kind of they abide by those same core tenets and that same mission statement to bring people closer to the ancestral lifestyle. His workouts are an adaptation of the West Side Barbell Conjugate Method. He encourages to work out every day, sometimes twice a day. So he does like 4 days of the week, and his primals who are following the program do 4 days a week. You do twice a day, and then 3 days a week you do once a day. But so he does these simulated hunts, and it's interesting because I honestly couldn't stomach going through his TikTok to find concrete evidence of this, but people that I know who are fans and other articles mentioned his simulated hunts, where he will struggle in a condensed time frame. So basically do like Tabata push-ups, complete sprints, kettlebell swings, heavy carries, and just like do something really intense. And then he'll either fast after the hunt to represent like it was unsuccessful and they worked really hard but they didn't get the kill, or after he does his hunt workout, he'll eat because it was a successful hunt.
Okay. It's like I get whatever you makes you happy.
And I feel like the general like populace that follows him, they just like, he has like a really devoted, I feel like he has a lot of followers because people are curious, people find him interesting. Like I don't think I can follow him because I think he does too much like animal meat stuff for me, but I feel like his philosophies I'm interested in, right? And then there's another section of people who follow him that are like his devoted fans, and just really are the primals at heart. And so there was this Barstool article about one of the guys who works at Barstool, like went to his New York meetup and was kind of recounting his experience. And this was a quote from it. It says, at one point, a guy ran up to Liver King and screamed, quote, "We have banned all seed oils from the house. The depression and cancers are all seed oils." Which is just like,
Seed oils is a big thing. Everyone's
yeah, everyone hates the seed oils. Seed oils. You have to stay away from it. So this was a video from the
Oh my, this is my
the
biggest
meetup.
nightmare. This is my biggest nightmare.
They're
Wow, they showed my nightmare.
they're doing
Crazy.
100 push-ups, and it said at the end of it, like he was just tossing raw liver at people who were able to do the like as a reward. So really devoted fan base. And
I just want a community, though. It's kind of beautiful.
Community is important.
I'm like going between. Yeah, I can't decide.
But yeah, so that, I mean, that is Liver King. We kind of talked about it throughout me explaining things, but I just thought he was a really interesting kind of example of like this. I don't know, like, do we think like, is it genuine conviction that he's going this hard, or is it all just part of, you know, he has these businesses, he obviously has he gets financial gain from kind of being this circus. And also just like the idea of, as a business person, where is the line? I think especially with like influencer businesses, granted he wasn't an influencer and then started a business, it was kind of the other way around. But I feel like it's like, he has created this whole persona that is his entire life because he has such a deep conviction to his business. I don't know. I think it's just like really interesting, like where we are, you know, before, let's just take like Mad Men, for example, giving us a lens into like the 1960s and people working in marketing, ads and advertising. And it's like, they did that and then they went home. They didn't like post about it on Instagram, like tips and tricks on being the best advertiser to be like, become like an advertising influencer, right? And just kind of the lack of clear boundaries. And I think that the pandemic and work from home, you know, obviously there's benefits from being able to do that and still collect a paycheck, et cetera, et cetera. But just like how we live to work and work to live, and just this like, it's all kind of the same thing at this point.
Well, I think it's because people think we don't have a private life anymore because social media is such a part of our life that like,
Yeah.
but that's like a myth, right? Like you can still definitely have a private life, but I think maybe that's like, I don't know. I don't want to sound like anything, but I mean, I just feel like it's like, that's since we have these devices and like we're told that we have to be on, like everyone's watching you, and like your Instagram like is how you portray your life, da 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 da. I mean, I sound like a fucking millennial because I'm talking about Instagram when I know that's not even the big one anymore. But that it's like, yeah, that's true, and you definitely like, to an extent, it doesn't have to be. You know,
Yeah.
it just seems like he's just a guy who wants, even if he has a good lifestyle and he feels passionate about it, for sure, but like it just seems like it's like, yeah, it's just like capitalism, like it's just a guy who's like trying to make money, which like,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
you know, I'm not really surprised by any of this anymore because I just think because I keep saying Instagram, because social media relies so much on giving an illusion of it being like an unfiltered version of someone's life, or like that's what people look at influencers for, is like, ooh, like look at this life that I can kind of be a voyeur on and like kind of experience that. I don't know, people have had to make it their whole life, even if it, like, Don could go home and it wasn't his whole life. Do you know what I mean? It's just because of this is the reason why the difference is. I don't really
Yeah.
think it's that different in some
Yeah.
ways.
But I mean, I think that I actually disagree with you. I think it's very
Okay.
different. Because and I think that it's like stemming from the same thing that I do agree that social media
I don't
and like
even know what
our
I just said. So
phones.
I'm
Well, I
curious.
mean, maybe you didn't mean it, but you said kind of the last thing you said was that like our lives really aren't that different than they were. Like I used Mad Men as an example, than like Dawn going to work and then leaving and like
Hmm.
having like a clear defined boundary. And I think it is really different because I think even if you don't, well, two things. I think one, the life of somebody who is completely offline is, I'd imagine their experience is so different than the average person who is online.
Hmm.
I think one, just baseline, that's so different. I think that there's like varying degrees of people who are online, but even like I think, to use myself as an example, I think I'm very conscious about like what I'm consuming and I'm very self-aware. And like I find things seeping in where I'm like consciously trying to unplug more because I found that like my preferences and even the way I dress has become very one note. Like I feel like everybody of a certain age bracket kind of like acts and does and has the same aspirations, and the things have become so same because similar to what's that one movie, Never Let Me Go. And I don't want to say very much because you should all see that movie and I don't want to spoil it, but more or less like they look to it's like the first time that they're understanding kind of what it means to be in relationship with like a romantic relationship. And so they see this TV show or like an advertisement, and they're like, oh, that's how like boyfriend girlfriend acts. And so like if we're boyfriend girlfriend, then we act this way, like we like hold hands and touch faces and kiss. And I think that like growing up, traditional media had such a chokehold on that and like setting those definitions. And now as we're moving to, you know, this accessibility of like who is an influencer and like, oh, they set what's cool. And so you have somebody, let's just say Emma Chamberlain, who I really like actually. She has millions and millions of followers and they're mostly young women. And they say, oh, like, I remember how confused I was when I was a preteen. Like, you're like, how do I do makeup? What is cool? Like, what does a cool girl do? And you have access to somebody unfiltered and you have millions of people all looking at the same person and having accessibility to, I guess I'm kind of deconstructing my own argument. Basically what I'm saying is that I think that we're coming into this age where it's like these boxes of sameness and people are becoming unable to develop their own creativity or voice because it's so, there's so much comfort found in like, here's this influencer, here's the clean girl aesthetic is like really big right now. And it's like you shop at Aritzia, you like that, you dress this certain way, your apartment looks this way, and it's just, I find it really overwhelming. And that
But
is
how
where
is
we're
that?
at.
I guess just how is that different? It just seems like more flavors than like what they had back in the day. It seems like the same thing. I just feel like it's just been expanded upon. It's like back then, like, okay, if you were like a hippie, you would wear like flowy dresses. You know,
Yeah.
it is the same thing. It's just it's there was less categories back then.
No, I mean, here's the thing is I do, that's what I was saying is I think it stems from the same thing, but I think that we have evolved to such a place, like it's like iterated, I guess, or grown so exponentially in my head that I would say that it's different.
Hmm.
So, I mean, then it comes down to
I'm
like,
not-
what's your threshold of what you consider different? Like, how different do you think something needs to be to say it's different? You know, you're getting into just like a
Yeah.
philosophical talk on that.
Well, something that someone asked me the other day, which I thought was super interesting. This is just another thought experiment to,
Yeah. You know, I'm always
but
game
it's
for
like,
thought experiments.
do you think that the internet is a more like impactful invention than like the printing press or like
Hmm.
photography and movies. I don't know. I don't know. I think it's all building upon the same thing.
I
That's
agree
my
because I think that and I'd be interested to hear exactly what you think, but I feel like the influence of the internet is through like is a version of printing because I'm thinking like blogs to me feels like a version of print, right?
yeah, it doesn't really seem that different to
And
me.
then like it's more of just like the medium of delivery because like videos and
hmm
pictures on the internet are what's influencing us now and what are making such a big change. So if you didn't have that, then so yeah, I agree. I think it's building all on itself.
Yeah. I think that's honestly my only hot take is that we're all building upon history and that like people that are like this is so crazy and revolutionary. I'm like you have no concept of history because we've just been building upon this for friggin' forever. I mean, one of my favorite things is thinking about people first seeing themselves pictured. Like that's must have been so crazy. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I feel like that's why
Or
I
even
don't know, that's why like early movies are so interesting because it's like people had never seen themselves move back. Like that must have been I think that's crazier than the internet. I don't know, like just in like on a psychological level.
so like on an individual level, I think yes, but I think the internet on a like wider societal level or even global level, I think is more influential because of the connectedness that it
Yeah, I
offers.
guess it's like it's not helpful to say like in a broad sense. I feel like there's different, you know.
But I mean, but then if you bring it back to the individual, wouldn't it have cuz okay, so let's say like on a global or worldwide scale or general society, like the internet is so influential because it offers connectedness and theoretically, this is very idealistic take of the internet, but theoretically, you are understanding worldviews that are different than your own, and you're having access to understand people who don't live in your city or that you don't have immediate access to, right? And so, because
Yeah.
of that global level of communication and understanding, theoretically, it's affecting you as an individual because your general society is changed as a result of that global connectedness,
Yeah, but
right?
I feel like we that's not to say though that like that didn't exist before. It's just on a bigger scale. Because like you can read books from other places and understand people's experiences. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not like we were like in the dark about that we had like
I guess it's just more,
connections.
yeah, I guess it's more just like widespread, right? Because I feel like um the intention, this is just like a hypothesis, I guess. I don't know, it just feels like you'd have to be really intentional to be like, I'm going to read a book about like a woman in China's experience versus like mine in LA, right? Like I feel like, and then you have to have access and like know where to find that. I'm thinking like pre-internet, like you really have to, like that just seems hard to find, right?
I don't know. I mean, that's the joy of reading for me, especially like older books, is like you get to see that it's all the fucking same. Like everyone's dealing with the same, I would say emotionally and like psychology wise, like we all have kind of the same things that we're constantly grappling with. And it's really fun to read books from like 300 years ago where you're like, oh, that person's dealing with the same thing I am.
Yeah.
And maybe the circumstances are different, but ultimately everyone wants to like feel loved and feel like they have a purpose.
That's actually interesting. So like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm like, because I agree with that. And so I guess I'm walking it back that like then maybe the internet isn't all that profound in the sense of connectedness because at its core we're all the same. So it really isn't making that much of a difference on like a deeper layer.
I don't know. Yeah, I think like the access is the biggest thing. Is just
Yeah.
like the prevalence of like having that much access is really crazy. But I'm not sure on like a evolutionary level if it's that different for us, you know?
Yeah.
When the
Yeah.
printing press came out, all hell broke loose. Because you could start like, travel, like your ideas could move beyond you. People, I don't know.
Well, I guess your ideas in this case can move beyond you at like a quicker sense. So
Yeah.
how big of a deal is it that the time is what's
I'm
it called,
it,
expedited?
yeah, I think that's the huge change too, like the immediacy of everything. But
Yeah.
I think that at a certain level, it's like you can kind of comprehend the same amount of information. We just have, you know what I mean? It's not like our brains have expanded that much more than like they were like 50 years ago.
Well, I don't think that the brain expansion is the interesting thing. I think it's more the opposite, that it's like, how dumb are we now? Or how, like, that it's like information overload and like
Totally. I
the,
don't know how to spell fucking anything. Like, I don't know how to,
well,
because I just
and when you
in
spell something
here.
so incorrectly that like the word correct, the autocorrect doesn't know what the word is. And then I have to go into Google because Google's autocorrect is better. And so then I have to like copy and paste what I was trying to spell and see what it autocorrects to.
The goddamn word nauseating, I will never learn how to spell it. I don't know what the letters are after N, and I'm constantly battling my phone because I'm constantly nauseous, so I constantly have to be texting about
Isn't it
that.
NA, right?
Yeah, it's very confusing. And yeah. Oh, that guy got it. Congrats.
Post woke.
You probably looked it up. I'm just kidding.
NAUSE. Nah seating. Nah seating.
Yeah, I don't know. It's the internet, man.
The internet, man. Well, Liver King launched us into this philosophical conversation.
I just feel like I don't know.
Do you think it's
he's just
genuine or
trying.
not? Do you think like
I
he
don't know if it
genuine?
matters. Do you think it
Oh,
matters? I don't think
no.
that's, I guess my thing. I'm like, sure, okay, like, I don't know. I don't really think it
I
matters.
don't think it matters, but I don't think anything matters. Like I don't know. I think that you could make that argument for literally anything. Sorry, like can't get comfortable. Nothing
I mean,
matters.
he's not promoting anything super bad necessarily, so I'm like, okay, sure. So I in that way, I don't really care if it's fake or
But I'm
real.
not asking you if you care, Katie. I'm asking if you think if it's fake or real. I
Oh,
don't
I
care. I
don't.
don't care if you care. I care if I just want to know if
I
you think
think
it's genuine or
it's.
not.
I think there's no way to know in
Answer the
this.
question, woman.
That's my answer. I think it's not one or the other.
Okay, so Kate's not playing along, so I will give my answer, which is that I do
Okay.
think it's genuine.
Okay, yeah. Like that he really works out and like hunts and does all that.
No, I think of course I don't think he's fake. I don't think there's any indication whether or not he's
I
faking
guess
it.
I'm
I'm
confused what
saying
the question
the
is.
question is, do you think it's coming from a real authentic, like do you think he's doing it because he wants to be famous on the internet or because he wants to sell lots of supplements or XYZ? Like do you think that this extreme version of his philosophy is a facade basically for like personal gain, et cetera, or do you think that he's doing this because he truly loves and believes this lifestyle and is like, I
I
want to
don't.
connect with my ancestral people?
I feel like I don't know enough about him to make that call. I only know what you've told me. I would need to like study his facial
You're
expressions
taking
and
this too
like
seriously. It's a yes or no question.
um I think he's
You don't
probably
have to
faking
answer.
it.
Okay, I was gonna say I was gonna let you off the hook. You were so close to getting me
I think he's
to
probably
let you
faking
off
it
of it.
because he got an agency to help him. So
So it's not
that
authentic. Okay.
I just feel like that a little bit. But again, to walk back on that a little bit, it's like I'm not sure if that matters because he has to do so much to like maintain that like it probably is genuine to a certain as genuine as it is fake because it's like that dude's body isn't crazy,
Like the
you
level
know?
of commitment.
Yeah.
Okay. I appreciate you playing my game,
He
even though
definitely wants money.
I just
That's for
forced you
sure.
into it. Yeah, but do you think he has nice things?
Probably. He probably does not sleep on that
He
thing.
just
I'm
has
gonna
like
say
an
that.
extra room that's
I'm
like his
sorry,
Liver
but
King
like
room.
even in the like medieval times, like serfs were putting up hay because they're like, I don't want to fucking lay on a goddamn plank. Like I need it to be, you know what I mean? Like he definitely has his own bed. Like because my thing is, I just think like if he really was primal, why is he on TikTok? You know what I mean? It's like, come on. So, but like that's fine.
But are
Sure.
you
Like
primal if nobody sees you being primal? It's like the tree thing. Like if a tree falls
yeah,
in
that's
the
like the point of it, right? Is to be like because if we were really in the primal mindset, like he's really not camouflaging himself very well. And so I, as his predator, could look him up. I know he sleeps on that wooden board. I could get in there. I can, like, he's not helping his
Wait,
survival
get in there
instincts.
like you're gonna like kill him while you're sitting, like you're gonna hide yourself, embed yourself into his wooden planks, and then like give him the
Absolutely.
1-2 while he's like while he's sleeping.
Well, like, what's the point of the primal lifestyle if not survival, right? So it's like, all right, challenge accepted.
Wow, I inadvertently just challenged Kate to take on the Liver King. That was not my intention at all.
I'll see how primal you are,
Yeah.
man.
Oh my gosh. Okay, y'all. Well, the last thing that I will say is somebody in chat said he lives in a $10 million mansion. I'm not gonna look it up. Take that information for what you will. Don't know if it's true, completely fake, but that is
That's
interesting.
supplement money.
That supplement money, baby. Supplement does feel very MLM to me. So I'm
Oh,
with you
big
on that.
time. I was around a lot of supplement MLMs growing up, I
Oh,
feel
there
like.
were supplement MLMs? I guess it is primed for that.
Yeah, Frank's whole family's really into it.
Interesting.
Like
Interesting.
really into it. It's still to this day too, which is kind of
Oh,
crazy.
wow.
Yeah.
Wow. How are MLMs? Have we done that as a topic? I feel like we've definitely touched it and
No.
talked about trying to do, because I don't understand how it's different than a pyramid scheme, and I don't understand how they're still allowed. I know that there's like a small nuanced difference that will
Yeah,
land you
we
in
should
jail or
do
not.
that actually, because I'm upset. There's this girl that I know tangentially who's involved in one,
Uh-huh.
and I am obsessed with her Instagram to the point where I've actually had to mute her because I love it too much because it's so you know that thing on The Office when that amazing cold open when like Michael's like, so you get three guys and then they get two guys and then there's the guy up top and then Jim draws the triangle around
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
She had like an Instagram live where she explained how you can make $1,000 in a month if you join her company and literally did the same thing, which is like, okay, well, you bring in two people and then they bring in three people. And I literally screenshotted it and sent it to my sister with me going up doing a pyramid on the screen.
That's
We should do that.
amazing.
That's a good topic.
Yeah, I wrote it down. I'll do it
Okay.
next time I present. I'll do that one because I find it
Okay.
so fascinating. And like, did you watch the
Yeah.
LuLaRoe documentary?
No, but I really wanted to. Was it
It's
good?
I wouldn't say it's particularly well done. Like it's not. I wouldn't say it's a good documentary, but it's very interesting. But like I feel like the subject matter is so interesting that like I was
Yeah.
willing to overlook.
Yeah.
It's on Amazon Prime if people are interested.
Cool.
And sorry if you're the documentary maker and you just heard me say that.
Better luck next.
Yeah. Alrighty, y'all. Thanks so much for listening, watching. Remember, we record these live on Twitch, twitch.tv/SidSoGood. Most Mondays, 9:15 a.m. Pacific time. They drop the VOD and audio drops every Friday. And yeah, we'll see you next week, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.